FN discontinued the high power in 2018. The craftsmen who built the originals are gone, and the Belgian guns they left behind are now worth more every single month. These 10 are quietly becoming priceless. Never sell them. The #1 high power on this list sold for over $8,000. If you own one of these and you don't know what it's worth, stay until the end. Because the people who sold without knowing lost more money than most people make in a year. Number 10. Inglis High Power, Canadian World War II production tangent sight. The Allied version, built in Toronto while Belgium was occupied. When Germany occupied Belgium in 1940 and seized FN's factory, the Allied forces needed their own source of high powers. Canada answered. John Inglis and Company of Toronto began producing high powers under British contract in 1944, and the Canadian guns carry two features the standard Belgian military guns never had: a tangent rear sight adjustable from 50 to 500 meters, and a slot cut into the grip frame to accept a wooden shoulder stock. The complete stock and pistol combination turns the high power into something closer to a carbine, a configuration that has fascinated collectors for decades. Inglis high powers in standard configuration were $400 to $600 guns 15 years ago. Today, clean examples run $1,200 to $1,800, with the tangent sight configuration commanding premiums over the fixed sight variants. Complete Inglis high powers with the original wooden stock and holster, the full rig as issued, are $3,000 to $5,000 guns when all components are original and documented. The shoulder stock alone in original condition is a $400 to $600 piece. Canada produced high powers in 3 contract configurations, and collectors who can identify the specific contract markings are consistently the ones who find the right guns at the wrong prices. Number 9. FN High Power, Mark II, 1982 to 1988. 6 years of production. The most overlooked high-power configuration in the entire lineup. Between 1982 and 1988, FN produced the High Power Mark II, an updated configuration featuring an ambidextrous thumb safety, a new barrel, and an updated extractor. After 6 years of production, FN moved on to the Mark III. The Mark II sits between the classic Mark I and the more commonly found Mark III, and most buyers walk past it because they don't know what it is. The ambidextrous safety was a specific FN engineering decision, never replicated exactly on the Mark III, which means the Mark II occupies a distinct position in the production timeline rather than just being a stepping stone. Mark II high powers in excellent original condition were $600 to $800 guns a decade ago. Undervalued because collectors focused on the earliest production and the more common Mark III. Today, clean Mark IIs run $1,000 to $1,400. The collectors who understood the Mark II's distinct configuration a decade ago bought them at $700. The ones understanding it now are paying $1,200. That gap is the whole story of high-power collecting in miniature. The configuration that nobody paid attention to is always the next one to move. Number 8. FN High Power, .40 S&W, 1994 to 2010. A discontinued caliber in a discontinued pistol. The rarest production, high power most collectors have never seen. In 1994, FNN introduced the high power in .40 Smith & Wesson, a caliber being rapidly adopted by American law enforcement as a compromise between 9mm capacity and .45A CP terminal performance. The .40 S&W high power required a redesigned frame and slide to handle the cartridge's higher pressure. FN produced it until 2010, when declining .40 S&W adoption made the configuration non-viable. 16 years of production, then gone. .40 S&W high powers were $700 to $900 guns when discontinued. Most shooters didn't notice because the 9mm was always the dominant platform. Today, clean .40 S&W examples run $1,200 to $1,800. a 70% appreciation over 15 years that happened in near total obscurity. The .40 S&W caliber itself is now in collector limbo, discontinued by most manufacturers, increasingly hard to find in current production pistols. The high power in .40 S&W sits at the intersection of two discontinued things simultaneously. That combination is exactly what creates collector value nobody anticipated. Number 7. FN High Power. Mark III, 1989 to 2018, final production. The last Belgian high powers ever made, and the final year examples are already climbing. The FN High Power. Mark III was the last production variant of the original Browning design, built at FN's Herstal facility from 1989 until FN discontinued the platform in 2018. 29 years of final production. Standard Mark III examples were $650 to $900 guns before the discontinuation. Since the announcement, the market has moved consistently upward. Average used prices rose over $250 in the 12 months following discontinuation alone. Final year 2018 production Mark IIIs are already trading at premiums over mid-production examples, because collectors understand that the last guns off a discontinued line document the end of an era. A 2018 production Mark III in the original box with all papers is a $1,400 to $1,800 gun today. 5 years ago, it was $800. The discontinuation created a before and after price event that is still playing out. And the people sitting on 2018 production examples in original boxes are the ones watching it happen in real time. Number 6. FN High Power T-Series, 1954 to 1962, Cold War military contracts. The pistol that armed NATO and the documented contract guns are the ones to find. During the 1950s and early 1960s, FN produced high powers under military contracts for NATO member nations and allied governments across the Cold War world. These T-Series guns, identifiable by their T-prefix serial numbers, tangent rear sights adjustable to 500 meters, and grip frames slotted for the wooden shoulder stock, were issued to soldiers across Europe, the Middle East, and beyond. They are the high powers that were actually carried, actually used, and actually trusted in the most consequential military period of the 20th century. T-Series high powers in standard condition were $800 to $1,200 guns a decade ago. Today, clean examples with matching numbers and documented contract markings run $1,800 to $3,000. The specific contract markings tell the story. British contract, Belgian military, Israeli contract guns all carry distinct proof stamps that establish specific history. Israeli contract high powers, identifiable by Hebrew proof marks, have become particularly sought after among Cold War Israeli military equipment collectors. Find the right stamps, verify the matching numbers. The documentation is the value. Number 5. FN High Power 2022 Reintroduction. The new standard and the first-year production examples are already the foundation of a new collector tier. FN discontinued the original Browning High Power in 2018, citing lack of civilian market interest. 4 years later, they changed their mind. The 2022 FN High Power is a ground-up redesign. Same external profile, same sole, but with an updated fire control group, ambidextrous controls, front serrations, and a factory optics cut. It is the most modern expression of the high-power concept ever produced, and it addresses almost every criticism the original platform accumulated over 83 years. Current retail runs $1,099 to $1,199. But here is what matters for collectors. The 2022 Reintroduction confirmed that FN considers the high power a viable commercial product, which means future limited editions and special configurations are coming. The people who own early 2022 production examples, the first runs off the new line, will be holding the foundation of a new collector tier in 10 years. Every great firearms platform has a first-year production premium. The high power's second chapter started in 2022. The people who recognized it are already holding those first-year examples. Number 4. Springfield Armory SA-35. the most faithful modern reproduction, and first-run configurations already above retail. When Springfield Armory introduced the SA35 in 2021, they made a deliberate decision most modern manufacturers avoid. They built it the way FN built the original. Forged steel frame, military specification trigger, no loaded chamber indicator, no magazine disconnect safety. The two features high-power enthusiasts most consistently removed from original guns. Springfield removed them from the factory, meaning the SA35 shoots the way the original was always meant to shoot. Current retail runs $699 to $799. But the first-run SA35, the original introductory configuration with specific wood grips and finish options, was replaced by subsequent variants within the first 2 years. Those first-run examples are already trading at modest premiums on the used market among collectors who recognize the pattern early. A $700 gun that becomes a $1,200 gun in 5 years because the specific configuration was discontinued is a high-power story as old as the platform itself. The SA35 is writing its own version of that story right now. Number 3, Girsan M CP35, the most accessible high-power alive, and the limited configurations nobody is watching. The Girsan M CP35 retails for $499 to $599. The most accessible entry into high-power platform ownership currently available. Turkish firearms manufacturing has improved dramatically over 2 decades, and the M CP35 reflects that. Tolerance is tighter than the price suggests, a serviceable trigger, and John Browning's lock breech tilting barrel design working as well at $500 as it does at $1,100. The MCP35 is not a collector piece today. The variant to watch is the MCP35PI, the match-oriented configuration with an extended barrel and adjustable rear sight, and any limited-run finish variants Girsan produces for specific markets. Girsan has a documented history of producing interesting configurations in small numbers that disappear without announcement. A $500 gun in a configuration that stops being produced is still a $500 gun, until the collectors who understand the platform discover it's the only one of its kind. Keep your eye on the limited configurations. Those are where the story starts. Number 2, World War II. German occupation FN, high power, 1940 to 1944. Built under Nazi occupation, the most historically documented high power ever produced. When Germany occupied Belgium in May 1940, the Wehrmacht immediately recognized what they had captured. One of the world's finest pistol factories, tooled and staffed to produce an excellent sidearm. FN's workers were ordered to continue production under German military supervision. From 1940 to 1944, FN built high powers for the German military, stamped with Wehrmacht acceptance marks, eagle-proof symbols, and inspector codes that document every gun's specific chain of custody from the Belgian factory to German military issue. These occupation production high powers are among the most documented firearms of World War II. The proof marks establish the year of manufacture, the specific German acceptance inspector, and the military command that received them. Matching examples with all correct stamps and original finish were $1,200 to $1,800 a decade ago. Today, documented examples in excellent condition run $2,500 to $4,500. And there is a human dimension no other high power carries. Belgian workers who built these guns under occupation were, by post-war resistance records, engaged in deliberate sabotage of the German war effort, introducing subtle defects into specific production runs. The guns that left the factory working correctly and the ones that didn't are the same guns. The history behind both is the same. Number 1. Pre-war Belgian FN high power, 1935 to 1940, first production. The original, built by the craftsman John Browning trained in the factory he designed. John Browning died in November 1926 at FN's Herstal factory, in the building where the high power would eventually be built. His assistant, Dieudonné Saive, completed the design. FN introduced the high power in 1935, and for the next 5 years, until Germany invaded Belgium and took the factory, FN built high powers the way Browning and Sive intended, with pre-war Belgian steel, pre-war Belgian craftsmanship, and the pre-war FN barrel address never replicated after the occupation began. Those first 5 years of production are the guns that started everything. Pre-war high powers are identifiable by the pre-war FN barrel address, the T-slot tangent rear sight adjustable to 500 meters, the grip frame slot for the wooden stock, and serial numbers in the pre-war production blocks that FN's factory records can document. These guns were carried by Belgian military officers in the opening days of World War II, captured by German forces during the invasion, and spread across Europe in ways that make documented provenance both rare and extraordinarily valuable when it exists. A clean pre-war high power in original configuration with 80% or better original finish was a $1,500 to $2,000 gun 10 years ago. Today, verified pre-war examples run $3,000 to $8,000 depending on condition and documentation. The guns that John Browning's own team produced before the occupation, before the compromises, before the cost reductions, are the ones that will never stop appreciating. There will never be more of them. 10 high powers. The most accessible on this list is a $500 gun that might become a collector piece if the right configuration disappears. The most valuable is a pre-war Belgian pistol built by the craftsman John Browning trained. And it has tripled in value in 10 years while most owners had no idea it was happening. 2 things. First, if you own any Belgian production high power, Mark I, Mark II, Mark III, T-Series, occupation era, or pre-war, do not sell it without a proper assessment from a high-power specialist. The difference between what a general gun dealer will offer and what a knowledgeable collector will pay is often $500 to $2,000 on the same gun. The markings matter. The matching numbers matter. The configuration matters. Most sellers don't know enough about any of those 3 things before they price the gun. Second, pass it down. Make sure whoever inherits your collection knows what they have. The single greatest tragedy in high-power collecting is a family member who sells a $4,000 occupation-era gun for $400 at an estate sale because nobody told them what the Eagle stamps meant. You now know. Make sure the people who come after you know too. FN built the high power for 83 years. Every major military force on Earth carried it. The craftsmen who built the first ones are gone. The factory that built the best ones will never make another. What exists is all there will ever be. And the people who understand that are holding, not selling. Comment below with which high power you own. And tell me whether you bought it before or after the 2018 discontinuation. And if you want to know which other John Browning designs are quietly becoming priceless right now, that video's right here.